Checking the connection. Checking the connection. We got a connection. Hey gang, it's Maria here from GoalieTrainingPro.com. I was talking to one of my business coaches on Monday. We do an accountability checkout every Monday. And so really it's just like, it's exactly like you. Like I want to help goalies win more games. Sorry about that, Facebook. That's a good angle. Sorry for showing you a picture up my nose. I'm just putting Instagram back on. I was in the back of the gym, and the Wi-Fi at the back of the gym sucks bad. And it's literally like 20 feet over there. But anyway, so as I was saying, it's basically the same as you guys. I want to be the absolute best at what I do, and I want to have the biggest impact I can. So that's why I have a business coach who helps me get my message out there, because I do want to help goalies all over the world win more games with fewer injuries. I want you to keep playing and having a blast until you're 80. I want you to be 60 years old playing goal against former college players who are like, what's your secret? They get frustrated because they can't score on you. And I want to get 10 of you to the NHL and have at least 2 of you hoist the Stanley Cup. So that's a pretty big goal, and I don't know enough about the tech side of it. I'm a strength coach. I don't know enough about the tech side of it or the marketing side of it to do that on my own. So that's why I pay a coach quite a bit of money. I invest in myself to help me out. So he said, just kind of not off the cuff, but he's like, I think you should start doing a weekly TV show from the gym. So, okay. So this is it. This is episode number 1 of Goalie Training Pro TV. And it actually, because to do a show every week, and I have visions of like a cool backdrop, and I actually have visions of doing like interactive workouts where we're going to go through some workouts together and that kind of thing. So I think it's actually a really neat idea. Ultimately, you guys will tell me if it's a good idea or not by how much you watch, how much you like, how much you interact, if you ask questions. And even if you're watching this as like the replay, type your questions in below and I'll see them, and then that will guide me, because it's really a show for you, and I just try to keep up. Cool? Okay. So got a perfect topic for this one. Oh, it's so funny. Sometimes, like, do you ever, I'm trying to think of an example. Like, if you're a parent and you have kids, and you tell your kid whatever, like, Gatorade's full of sugar, you shouldn't just drink it with your lunch. And the kid's like chugging on his Gatorade as you're telling him this. And then he sees Don Cherry on TV, and Don Cherry's like, kids, you shouldn't drink Gatorade. It's full of sugar. You shouldn't drink it with your lunch. And they're like, Don Cherry told me that Gatorade is full of sugar. I should not be drinking it with my lunch. And you're like, am I not speaking English? Or, what's the scoop? So I had one of those moments, and no offense, I love Ross. He's one of my favorite goalies in the Shutout Academy. But today, we have a private Facebook page that's just for Shutout Academy members. But he posted in there, I heard somewhere that stretching, takes away your peak power and it's going to make you slow. So I'm just wondering if we shouldn't be stretching before we go on the ice. And it was like where did I go wrong kind of moments. Because, and so I went and dug it up, and time goes fast for me. I went and dug it up. It was 2012 when I full on addressed this. And even at that time, that research article, sort of the first research article that said, static stretching a muscle will decrease its peak power output, it was probably 2 or 3 years old when I even wrote that. So we're talking about research that's probably from 2009 or earlier that I debunked in, not I did, but I kind of went, and then, so when someone's like, oh, I saw a research article, or I saw a study, I always am like, oh, what was the study? If the study was posted on Joe's fitness blog and it was a study that Joe did on himself, it's like, that's me balling up a piece of paper. And then back, 2 points right in the garbage can. So, but if it's like, because actual studies that are, and I did a master's of science degree, so that's why I'm so anal on this, because we would get ripped so hard if we came and presented something as like research that was not research, that was an opinion piece, or that it didn't meet rigorous criteria of the scientific community. So actual research articles are published in peer-reviewed journals. So there's a study, the variables are controlled, the statistical analysis is done, the conclusions are drawn, any like sort of potential conflicts of interest are stated. Like, so for example, if I'm studying, if I own a knee brace company and I do a study on does this knee brace work, I have to say I own the company of the knee, because then people are like, that sounds a little suspicious to me. So, and then conclusions are drawn. Then you send it to a journal, which would be like the Journal of Orthopedic Sports Medicine. I think it's a British Journal of Orthopedic Sports Medicine. There's millions of medicine, science, and exercise. There's a bunch of them. Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research, blah, 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 blah. So then what they do is they take that article and they send it out to reviewers who, like have their PhD, know research, and they look at it critically. And like, maybe they're not happy people, but they hold it up to a really strict guideline. And if it passes, then it gets published. And if it's faux science or pseudoscience, it's like, no, like publish this in Men's Health or something like that, maybe. So anyway, so what I did was, so I didn't debunk it. I just went and read the actual original article, and then I searched for follow-up articles, and I read those actual articles, which are very, very boring. There'll be like 2 pages on statistical analysis and like stuff that make you go crazy. But so here's the answer to the question for episode 1 of Goalie Training Pro TV. Static stretching can decrease the peak power output of a muscle. This is true, which is actually really important if I am an Olympic weightlifter. So an Olympic weightlifter does 1 repetition of the clean and jerk or of the snatch. So if that is my bread and butter, then I'm really, really, really bad with numbers. And I can't remember, but it was something like, it was a really small decrease, like, I don't know if it was 2% or 4%, but it was quite a small decrease. Well, but if I'm competing and I'm going to potentially win or lose a podium spot based on a kilo or a half a kilo, that's important to me. So I'm not going to choose that time to do my static stretching. But even if I'm a basketball player and vertical jump is a part of it, if I have a 20-inch vertical jump and I lose 2 inches or 3 inches off of that, but it helps me maybe run a little better or cut or change direction a little bit better, I'm not overly fussed about it because there are other elements to it. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is that, so then some of the follow-up studies looked at, okay, well that's interesting. Plus, anyway, that's interesting. Well, what would happen then? So this is what happens is research spawns other research, and it's actually really, really cool. It's kind of following like a spider web or something. But then what happens next is someone says, oh, that's really interesting. I wonder what happens if we did a dynamic warm-up after that static stretch. Would that negate the loss of peak power production? which this is very anticlimactic, but yes, it does. So that's why you'll see in like your Shutout Academy workouts, any of the programs that you've bought from me, that we will do some kind of self-myofascial release. We do this in Revolution Conditioning before every single workout. Self-myofascial release, static stretch circuit. We do about, I got it right here on the board, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stations, 30 seconds on each side, or about 50 seconds and 10 seconds to change. So about a total of 7 minutes of static stretching. And then we do a dynamic warm-up. Then we get into our workout. So then some of you are going to be saying, or you're going to hear, I heard, that foam rolling doesn't really work. Well, define work. What does it make you feel better? Does it make your muscles feel a little bit better? So some people will say, all it does is increase your tolerance to foam rolling and make it feel less painful to you. Well, yeah, maybe, but I know that when I started foam rolling, it was very sore, and I had specific points that were sore, and I could almost feel like a little lump in there. And now with foam rolling, I've foam rolled for over 10 years. I foam rolled, but it feels nice and smooth. I know too that if I get a lacrosse ball and I roll it on the bottom of my foot, my forward toe touch improves. I get more range of motion. So it's really hard to know what is the mechanism, but works or doesn't work. It's hard to say. Sometimes it depends on the definition. Some people say, well, it doesn't actually work to lengthen the muscle tissue. Well, yeah, that's fine, because we're not really trying to lengthen a muscle tissue with self-myofascial release. We're more trying to work on the quality of it, and maybe stimulate some blood flow, maybe stimulate some remodeling in there to make things a little more supple. Yeah. I think that's it. I think I hit the end of my rant and I wasn't even ready for it. So, self-myofascial release, static stretch circuit, and then a dynamic warm-up. Dynamic warm-up is really important because it's part of the time when you practice some of your movement patterns too. So again, don't be one of those players who does just a sloppy dynamic warm-up, because the reason we do it is because there's a purpose, and because we're trying to work on your balance, lengthen out some tissues, work on some transitional movements. If we go down, back, push up to balance, working on transitions like that actually set the foundation for your acceleration, your deceleration. So take it seriously, have really good quality of movement when you do that, because also even from a mindset perspective, it sets you up to be ready to go out and perform with excellence. So that's the scoop on static stretching and Tyler running by in the background. And that's the end of episode 1 of Goalie Training Pro TV. So if you thought this was cool, it's I don't even know what day it is. Wednesday at 2 in the afternoon or something like that. Might not be the ideal. There he goes again. Oh, time for more toilet paper in the old RevCon bathroom. But it may not be the best time of day to do it. I don't know. We'll see. You give me feedback. So if you like it, you like the idea, give me a thumbs up. If you have questions or suggestions for topics, type them in down there and I'll use them as a topic. I still plan to do the weekly live Q&A on Fridays, but again, we'll see. Maybe this will just all roll into one. Thanks so much for tuning in, gang. I will catch you next time. See you. This time I'm going to turn off Instagram first, because I always turn off Facebook first, and then Instagram gets extra minutes. See you, gang.